feel like a dragon's about to fly out of the volcano and a fight's about to begin. I hope so. That would liven things up slightly. I mean, at 80% we got the message saying that a plane was coming out of the volcano and was heading our way. So, well, I haven't seen it yet, so that's a very slow plane, it turns out. I think this is from Beyond Earth, Michael Curran. I think that's Beyond Earth soundtrack. But it might be Pillars of Eternity. Can't remember off the top of my head. Jeff Nor, this is Beyond Earth, definitely. Yeah, the other one, that, yeah, Michael Curran, that might have been Pillars of Eternity, Deadfire. So I don't know if there's dragons, but definitely dramatic things happen. Another one of those games that I should play a lot more of. I got like 4 hours into it or something, got my boat and everything set up, and then I haven't touched it since. Sometimes I'll feel like going back and playing games like that I haven't touched for a while, that I don't feel I played enough of, but at the same time then I'll look at them and go, well, I've got about 4 hours out of it, that's decent value, I'll move on, or I'll play something I haven't played before. And then I'll play a game like this, where I've got several hundred hours. I'll intentionally put like 20 hours into a single level instead. I don't know what's wrong with me, don't ask. Too early? No, not really. For morbid jokes, generally it'll either never be too soon for people who don't care about such things, or there'll never be a good time for people who think that it might be too soon for comedy. Like, if people aren't going to laugh about a circumstance, they never will. It's not a case of too soon or not, it's just people won't find something funny. I generally find morbid humor amusing, so... Close enough to New York when towers fell, people left their jobs for the day just in case. Wise move. Yeah. Too soon potentially would be if we were cleaning this pyramid and were expecting to find pieces of submarine. But I think generally the internet's been pretty accepting of memes about that one. But I think this is meant to be in the Pacific, not the Atlantic, so it would be a bit off course. In the description for this level, I think it called out that it was in, like, they thought that it was like Atlantis, but it was in the Pacific Ocean, so they call them Pacificians or something instead. Most people think 9/11 jokes are funny unless you're in New York, then you'll get jumped. I think it depends on context. The point is that making a joke without context about some sort of event is generally just not cool. Like, unless you have a good reason to bring it up, like if you're tying it in with something, if there's a situation that lends itself to a reference that is made in a joking manner, then that's different. If you are forcing the joke, then get better comedy. Like, if you're going out of your way to concoct a disaster-related joke, then you need to work harder on your routine. It's the sort of thing that an amusing reference is different to, or an allusion to, can be funny. And that's usually around the, like, distorting an already given image or circumstance into including a reference. So then the comedy is around playing on expectations and subverting interpretation. So like people see one thing and then you turn it into something else and it's like, oh god, and then laugh about it, right? That's how you do that sort of comedy well. But if you're just basing a joke around something entirely, then yeah, not trying so hard. I don't know. Again, people will either find something funny or they won't. It's as simple as that. It also depends on which part of things you're making fun of all the time. Has there been bad forest fires lately? Yeah, I heard that. Like, half of Ontario's on fire or something, which is not great. Hopefully normal clean air has gone from 2 to 5 out of 12, yeah. Bad air quality. Yeah, all you could smell was burnt pine and cancer, yeah. Yeah, I'm asthmatic and have other issues as well, so that would not be fun. I found it a problem just when we went to London and just the dirty air in the subways and stuff like that. I hate to think what it would be like in an actual toxic smoke sort of environment. I would probably be staying indoors with a cloth over my face. Haven't actually seen much in the news about how that's been going over there. Have the fires actually gone out yet? Has there been progress? Or are they just burnt out? Did they just run out of things to burn? Funnily enough, all of our news has been dominated by much less relevant things over the last week or so. Everyone got overly excited about a bunch of people who decided to go to the depths of the ocean instead. City skyline fire. Oh, in terms of like how it looked, yeah, people were making jokes about how it was a big promotional stunt for Diablo 4 because it just looked post-apocalyptic. New York was just looking like something out of a disaster movie. Again. Yeah, it was pretty freaky. We had a much lesser thing like that years ago. There was massive fires over in Australia and we were getting like dusky orange sunsets because of the high altitude smoke and dust. We weren't getting it at low levels though, thankfully. It was all just high altitude across the Tasman. But it certainly looked grim. Yeah, how the news is reported is kind of interesting because they'll show things like that when there's tons of stuff going on, but then they'll very rarely actually follow up with a resolution of, oh, by the way, this has stopped happening now. Because that's less exciting, so it doesn't make front page. It just kind of falls out of the collective unconsciousness. Meanwhile, we've got this thing going on in the background over here the whole time. So, we're cleaning this pyramid, and yet this thing's dumping smoke all over this place. Doing these designs is really annoying because you've got to make sure you get the beveled edges on both sides. So if you try and do it from one side, you're going to miss doing it on the trailing edge. I'm not sure what the best way of doing it was in particular. Like, I was trying to get a better angle by standing up on the blue thing, but I think just standing on the ground and doing it from here is probably better. Just work my way down this bit here. Certainly far more likely that you miss bits across a design like this because of all the height differentials. And there's weird textures going on as well. So you think you've missed a bit, but it's actually just a bit of texture, so then you ignore a bit because you think that it's just texture, and then it turns out that you've missed something. It's self-defeating sometimes. What have we got to go? Not too bad. Okay, we're getting there. Getting there slowly. I know I had a little technique for doing these designs when I was doing on the other side, but I can't remember what it was, so we're just doing it in some sections. We'll just do the tail first, and then we'll just work our way over the center. I guess maybe we just do as far as this. I don't need to do diagonal almost, to be perfectly honest. Just to make sure that we get all of the angles. We just need to actually follow the design around as well. Do it like this. And then go up. Bit of ton relating to the fire, yeah. During World Environment Day, politicians went to Ottawa to celebrate, had to wear masks, and all of Ottawa covered in smoke and ash. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what you expect them to do. Like, what do you expect a dude in a suit who makes policy to do about a forest fire? You know? I mean, I'll happily agree with the idea of politicians are useless and they don't do anything. But in that situation, I'm not quite sure what you expect them to do. They're not firefighters. And so it depends on what led to the fires occurring and what they intend to do to stop them happening again. But we do also have to realise that forest fires are a perfectly natural event under certain circumstances. So the key point is, what about them made them so bad? Is it just because of effects of climate change, making things like storms more ferocious and therefore setting off fires like that? What is there that could be done to prevent or mitigate in future? Because the answer often isn't just putting them out. Because if you stop the forest from burning and then it results in a larger build-up, then there's just more to burn next time. That's not good either. Nice big fire breaks can help, but once it starts raging too much, then if the wind is strong enough, you could have 100 meters and sparks will still fly. It's just a very common thing I do see of, you know, kickback against politicians and what they might be perceived as not doing. It's like, it rarely gets accompanied by thoughts of what they should be doing. I mean, we've had some pretty good examples over here of politicians doing nothing and being useless, and very real alternatives that they should have been doing instead. It's just been scandal after scandal over here of people not declaring conflicts of interest, and the answer there is just, well, maybe you should actually pay attention to what you're supposed to do in your job and declare those conflicts of interest and not be an idiot and not just think that everyone is an idiot and will not notice. What's then shameful is how long it takes things to actually be called out. Why am I using the worst power washer? Exclamation mark basic washer. This is a challenge run. We are completing the entire career using only the worst washer. Specifically for that reason. Why? Good question. Mainly because we can. To show that it can be done. Because apparently we hate our wrists. We want to appreciate just how much of a sadist the map designers are in putting so many barnacles across things. I mean, generally you wouldn't... I guess we're appreciating it a lot more, because generally you wouldn't notice all of this because you just blast across it with the Pro Washer and you'd barely even see that it was there. So we're giving these maps the real time that they deserve. Chance that the fires going through Canada may have been started by a group of arsonists. Oh, wonderful. Well, I hope they catch them and do something with them then. Didn't read the title. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I decided to do it as a challenge run. I'd practically finished the campaign through early access, and I had obviously been using all of the best stuff in early access. But before finishing the final levels, I reset my progress all the way back to the start and resolved to not upgrade my washer. So I've got the extensions, I have the turbo nozzle for use when that's relevant. I have the soap nozzle, but I don't actually use soap because it's pretty much redundant. You certainly don't get enough of it to make it worth using. And yeah, we're just going through without buying a better washer. I don't know, supply chain problems, I don't know. We can roleplay it as much as you like. It was basically a case of to prove that it's possible. Bit of a challenge. It's teaching me patience, if nothing else, that's for damn sure. It's a challenge both in the amount of time that it takes and my own personal, like, resilience in actually seeing this through. And now that we're on the final map, then, you know, the end is in sight. It's not so bad. The hardest parts was definitely back when I was doing the likes of the subway level, where I'm about halfway through the campaign and you're thinking, do I keep doing this to myself? And just powering through. Change the environment, increase the fire. Yeah, absolutely, yeah, that's right. It's a contributing factors. So it's a case of how can you mitigate the effects in future. I also don't know if they were natural forests or plantation. Played most of the game not knowing you had to change the power washer. Yeah. Understandable. Well, I'm proving that you don't have to. But yes, if you buy an upgrade, you have to actually then select it before you start using it. Yeah, I've seen that happen with a lot of people get caught out. Like, they'll buy a new washer and then go into the next map not realizing that it's not even equipped. That's why I'm a big fan in games where you buy something, and yeah, it can be annoying, but you'll buy something and then it'll ask you, do you want to equip this item? And you can say, yes. It's a very simple thing to add in. It's like, do you want this to be your default loadout? Yes, please. That's why I bought it. Especially games then like in Persona. You buy a new weapon, it'll ask, do you want to equip it? You can say yes. Do you want to sell your old one? You can say yes. So that way you don't just end up with a really cluttered inventory. But you can't sell washes in this, unfortunately, so... It would be nice if you could just upgrade instead of buying a new one and keeping the old one, because realistically, when are you ever going to go back to using an old one once you've upgraded? So it would be nice if it was a case of like a replacement, or you could buy for 2,000 or something, or you could upgrade and like trade in your old one and get like a 10% discount or something. Would be kind of nice. It makes it harder. It definitely makes it more tedious. And it makes it harder to get things further away, that's for sure. Nintendo fan, specifically a Pikmin fan. I've never played a Pikmin game, I don't think. Probably because I think it's one of those Nintendo exclusives, and until I got a 3DS a while ago, then didn't play it very often. Now I have a Switch and also don't play it very often. I pretty much just got them to play Pokemon instead. 100% the first 3 games over and over again. I enjoyed and found the 4th one's coming out this month. And it's coming out on your birthday, very nice. Makes it easy to know what you want for your birthday. That's a struggle these days. It's a case of, oh, what do I want for my birthday? I don't know, I'll just buy whatever I normally buy. I can make an excuse that something is a treat instead of just buying it because I would anyway. Had to go to a pawn shop and sell the power washer? Yeah, that would be actually quite fun. If there was actually a store, that would be cool. No, see, even better would be if they had a level earlier on. So, okay, you clean your van, alright? You take on a few jobs. When the next power washer or any of the upgrades start to unlock, you have a mission where you have to clean the front of the power washer supply store first before you can buy upgrades. That would be cool. Make it relevant. You have to discover this location, you have to clean the power washing shop before they'll let you buy upgrades. So I really should have gotten into this game earlier in early access so I could tell them exactly what to do with their game. But I think that would have been fun. It's like, oh, I've got a job for you. Yeah, can you... I'm setting up an outdoor hardware supplies store. Can you please come and give the storefront a good cleaning? Oh, that's that wall done, by the way. About time. Yeah, hardware supplies store. Could you clean it off? And then afterwards, it's like, thanks for that. Looks great. Hey, I'm looking at getting some power washer supplies in. We're going to have some upgrades available if you're interested. Here, have like the short extension or something. Maybe you get the turbo nozzle as part of your payment. So I'll give you this one for free, sort of thing. Maybe they added in PowerWash Sim 2. PowerWash Sim 2 should be like a full open world experience where you drive your van between jobs and upgrade your washer. You like buy a house, like you clean a house and then you buy it. Buy a different van that has more storage capacity for things so that you can actually have your extensions, because otherwise maybe you don't have room. You know. Full on RPG where you level up and have skills, you know, greater water efficiency. You know, full shebang. Let's think big. Yeah, and it's also set in, like, post-war Berlin or something. Yeah. Is that what I'm going to pay for my birthday? Rent. I'd like to live here for another month, please. Yep, such is the way of things as an adult. It's like, oh, it's my birthday. Cool. What am I going to do? Well, I'm going to pay the mortgage. I'm going to buy some groceries, as I am required to do. So I'm going to pay my power bill. Hey, maybe I'll treat myself and get, like, a slightly more expensive loaf of bread. For me, it's more a case of I might buy a game on full price instead of on sale for once. That's a lie, I wouldn't buy a game full price. I don't know, personally, I'm not a fan of doing sequels for games just for the sake of it. Like, there's definitely things that they could improve with the PowerWash Simulator experience, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. They could definitely change how soap works, we were talking about it earlier in the stream, and I think it would make it impactful and actually relevant. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. The levels are great. I much prefer their current approach of they're doing extra DLC with, like, mission packs. I would like them to add some more cosmetics as well. Like different power washer designs. I would like them to extend the cosmetics to the extensions that you get as well. Because they're all just very same-ish. I'd like them to maybe implement some modifiers to the maps as well, so you could do like free play maps, but then modify it in some way, like change the dirt that is applied. Maybe change the time of day just for a bit of difficulty on that, just for ambiance purposes or something. I don't know. Add a water limit. I guess they've got the challenges already, so that kind of gives you your water. It's not a limit per se, but it gives you a target. So I guess that's already there. That would be something else that I do at some point, is work my way through the challenges. Would be kind of fun. Maybe I should do that instead of just the free play on with the Pro Washer. I think the challenges give you a specific loadout anyway, I think, so we'll do that afterwards. But yeah, I kind of like the idea of just having extra DLC that adds more maps and extra depth to the game without doing any major changes. Or if you do any major changes, just do it to the main game rather than making a sequel for the sake of it. I don't know. Like House Flipper, they're coming out with a House Flipper 2, and it's definitely got some major improvements. I just wish they'd put some of those improvements in the original game in the first place, rather than just relying on making a sequel. But, you know, engine limitations and stuff sometimes means that you can't make it work in the original. You know, you're using a completely different engine or something. And that's fair enough. Which I believe is the case for that one. I need to get back to... House Flipper's another one of those games that I need to get back to finishing off. I got halfway through the Pets DLC and then stopped, and I haven't even got the Farm DLC. But I'm not sure I care about the Farm one. It's got a little bit far from the original brief of flipping houses. You know else who doesn't like sequels? Todd Howard. He's been making the same game for 12 years. You're not wrong. Oh, but now there's Starfield, so you can have Skyrim in space, because that's definitely what we need, isn't it? It totally makes sense to be sneaking around and picking pockets and lockpicking in a space environment. I have a lot of misgivings about what that game looks to be involving. But hey, at least it's not just Skyrim. It's a start. To wrap your van, that would also be cool. Yeah, I want cosmetics for the vehicle, like, not just a van, buy a new vehicle. I remember when we were first cleaning the RV, doing the RV level, I was thinking, oh sweet, we get an RV to replace our van, and then we give it to our friend who set us up with the job in the first place, which is nice, you know, it's a lovely gesture. But I do wish that they then added in, like, a different vehicle. Either a different vehicle, or as you say, at least a different wrap. You could colour it, personalise it, add your own colour scheme. It's those little things that definitely add something to a game. Having your own, like, little personal... Like, you have your garage where you clean your van. If you could visit that and have, like, a little office next to it or something, and have picture frames that you can put screenshots that you've taken, little trophies that appear based on like the achievements that you do during the game, like the Steam achievements, have them as in-game trophies that then get displayed on a little trophy cabinet or something. It's those little things that really add a lot of depth to a game and get people engaged. There should all be like little stylized gnomes. And the RV turns into a UFO. That was technically a different RV. Company thinks people spend $60 for a 12-year-old game. But the thing is, people will. Like, you know, they're not wrong. That's the absurd thing, is that people are more than happy to, it turns out. More than happy to buy the same game for a different console or something. Or with just a bunch of mod content packaged up into the main game now, and people will buy it. Huh? Sometimes there's just no explaining why people do what they do. Hell, just look at the amount of hype that's been generated around Diablo 4. And there's a ton of people, even people who are critically of Blizzard and everything, it's like, oh, suddenly all is forgiven because a new shiny game has come out. Oh, except it's not a new shiny game, it's basically Diablo 3, but with less content. Or different content, anyway. I got a copy of Diablo 4 free with my graphics card. I bought myself a 4070 recently, so I can play things like Icarus again, without straining my computer as much, or without compromising on view distance and stuff. So that's something to look forward to. I want to get back into playing Icarus again. But yeah, I got a game key for Diablo 4 with that, and I've been playing a bit of that. It just makes me want to play Diablo 3 again. But it's amazing how people would spend 120 New Zealand dollars or more on the basic version of a game, which isn't even really a reskin. It looks almost the same. It's a slightly different gameplay content. It's like the storyline is obviously different. It's an expansion pack, if that. But, you know, people are very forgiving of it. It's like, oh, the skill tree is worse. Like, yeah, it's just worse. The core skills are things like, oh, you buy this ability, and instead of unlocking an ability and then being able to choose it based on your level, you have to put a point into unlocking it in the first place, and then it's like a 1 out of 5 thing of, oh, you can then sink extra points to upgrade it so its damage does slightly more. Whoop-de-doo. Give me skills that are impactful, please. Every 3 minutes something uncleans. Oof, that would be bad on this map, jeez. 3 minutes and all of a sudden 5% gets added because a wall got dirty again. This year marks the death of E3. I could not care less about E3, quite frankly. I have not seen the point in it for years. Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo pulled out because they have their own events. Yeah. It never made sense. It was just a place where people showed off. I'm not sure why we are meant to care about it. Don't know. If that was the sole reason that people went, then, well, there's your problem. You've got a very fragile model. You either have something that includes things that people are going to want to go and do regardless, or you are beholden to those third parties propping up your event. I can't really have any sympathy if you've gone with the fragile business model of the only reason we exist is as a platform for other companies to show off their stuff. Because there's no reason why they can't do it themselves, and there hasn't been any reason for years. It's just, they've only just figured that out, it seems. Or I guess after quarantines and everything, they decided that, oh, well, we just did digital things and that worked, so now we're just going to do our own things. E3 isn't for the big companies, it's for smaller companies. Well, clearly that's not true, is it? It seems like they were being propped up by the big companies. All I ever heard when E3 was on, the only things that people ever talked about was, oh, there's the PlayStation segment on tomorrow, and oh, here's the Xbox announcement. And people only cared about the big stuff. Yes, they might have had smaller people there as well, but that did not get nearly as much excitement. That is a problem with the consumer. That is not a problem with anything else. And again, it's like, well, either they can still afford to go on, like, are they actually doing an E3? So I've never paid attention to it because I kind of don't care. I find out about things my own way. But if they're still doing one and it's got some of the smaller people there and it's just not generating as much interest, or they're not doing it at all because they can't afford to because they relied on the big bucks from the big manufacturers. And in which case, well, not surprised. Yeah, I'm not sure how much people really paid attention to the smaller people anyway, because they're not the ones getting the screen time. Every 5 minutes the game asks you, would you like to spend $100 to keep an item clean? Well, I've got plenty of money at least. You could definitely do some chaos mod stuff in this. Get some Twitch integration so people could like donate and make it so that your controls are inverted, or make it so that your washer dirties things for a time instead of cleaning things, so you just have to like wait for 30 seconds until it becomes a cleaner again. That could be funny. That's the thing, is you wouldn't do anything based on time. These days, if you're going to be modding a game, you should definitely do it for Twitch integration so that people donate to, okay, $10 and or 1,000 bits and something becomes dirty again. Because otherwise you wouldn't do that to yourself. You got to be getting some payment out of it. I'd be down for that. Ah, Mr. Smarty hitting the text limit again. There's that English major. Monetary value on a regular person could have gone because it just seemed fun. Well, why didn't you then? You know. Try games that aren't out, you can enjoy them, you can walk around, meet fellow geeks. Correct. Talk to the devs person. Yep, absolutely. And they've decided not to do it this year. Oh, fair enough. Yeah, and that's the thing, is if they've decided not to do it this year because they relied on the money from the big players, then they weren't interested in the independent developers either, right? That shows that the organizers didn't care about all of those things that you just mentioned. Like, yeah, as a regular person, like we have an Armageddon Expo over here, which is kind of like Comic-Con. And yeah, it's fun to walk around. You see people in cosplay, you see people like crafts and stuff. And it is fun. But they do have to get their money from somewhere. And if they didn't have backing, or they didn't have sponsors, like they have big corporate sponsors, like they'll have stalls from tech stores and stuff. If they didn't have that, the event probably couldn't go ahead, and you've just got to expect that. Like, it's either got to be put on by some sort of beneficial trust, or they've got to charge lots for people to partake, which becomes a barrier to entry, or they need propping up from some big players. That's just the way that it goes. Everything from the GTA 5 Chaos mod and Power Simulator. Yeah, speed boost. I'd happily transform into a jet. Because I'm poor. Well, yeah, that's often a reason why people don't go. But that's a case of, well, if it's something you really wanted to do, you'd have to save up and be able to go. But that's another reason why, especially in such a large country, like I'm guessing E3 was in the States. I don't actually know about it. For all I know, it's in Europe. But I'm guessing that it was an American event. It's a case of, in such a large place, having a singular event that people have to travel a long way to get to is always going to be a problem. Like, I used to really have a great idea of going to BlizzCon one day, back when they actually cared about their esports scene, and they had games coming out that I actually was more interested in. I really loved the idea of going to BlizzCon. I wish that we had made it a bit of a priority before we had our daughter to head over and travel over to North America and go to a BlizzCon. Because that looked like a great environment. But at the end of the day, Takes a lot of effort to go, and nowadays especially, you know, I'm not that interested in what they make anymore. Dragonflight was cool and all, but not nearly as engaging as previous expansions. Diablo 4 is a rehash of 3 and not very well done. Overwatch 2 is just an expansion pack for Overwatch 1. It still doesn't have half the things that would make me interested in that game, like a single player campaign. Yeah. Lost the luster a little bit, unfortunately. Do you wonder why any convention still exists, like Comic-Con and stuff? Well, because the organisers of the likes of Comic-Con or Dragon Con clearly have a more robust business model than what E3 had. I don't know how exactly they are funded and put on, but I imagine the entry fees are fairly expensive, and then they'll have, like, people, you know, they'll have the panels, which people then pay to have, like, photos and stuff with the stars. So that's the sort of thing that E3 needed to have, is they needed to have maybe, like, video game voice actors, or, I don't know what else. Some of the big developers or something, you know, you have some of, you have like Todd Howard giving a panel, or the people in charge of Doom, for example. You have some, those sorts of faces, some prominent people in the scene doing panels, doing Q&As, and then doing signings and stuff afterwards. Video game music composers. Have Mick Gordon do a concert of Doom music, that would get people interested. You know, you've got to think of those sorts of things, of how can we creatively monetize this in such a way that we can keep it going if our other big names pull out for some reason. Because otherwise, if you can't sustain yourself on your own, you're going to struggle. But you've got to do it in such a way that it's engaging to an audience, because you've got to keep people wanting to come. You've got to give them something to go and see. That was a big problem with Armageddon this year, is they apparently decided that because some of their cosplayers were apparently getting some sort of online abuse, they decided, oh, we're not going to do a cosplay contest this year. So, oh great, you've now just given power to those idiots who decided to make stupid comments. And now you've taken away one of the biggest reasons why we would have gone to the convention. E3 was in the LA Convention Center. Yeah, well, LA is a pain in the ass anyway, so there's half your problem. Do it somewhere that isn't LA. Objective 1. Do it somewhere that's easier to get around and cheaper to stay at. That would help. Every 30 minutes get walked to a different level you've already done. That would be kind of fun, actually, yeah. Not that you have to complete it as such, but it's more a case of, yeah, you start like a power simulator randomizer. You start on a certain level, and then after a while, yeah, you can just get teleported to a different level. And that just counts towards the completion on that. I think, unfortunately, in free play, I think you can only have one on the go at a time. Like, if you back out of a free play level at 50% and then start another one, the other one resets again, I think. That used to be the case anyway. I don't know if it still is. It's at the same time understandable, but also a bit frustrating. Means that if you've like started a big level and then you just jump into a smaller one to play with some friends, then you lose all your progress on the big level. I hope that I've fixed that by now, because that certainly shouldn't be a thing. But I remember seeing some people making some comment about that. Still is? Yeah. 2023 game can't have one level save at a time, yeah. That's what frustrated me about it. It's like, oh, but it's for the sake of the save game data. It's like, you what? you can't just have an extra line that's like, oh, this level is currently at 60%? Seriously? And obviously you've got to save the full dirt map and everything. Like, I get it. But at the same time, I don't get it. I think one of the arguments was that for like Steam Cloud and stuff, it's like, okay, so just store that information locally. Just make it that your free play progress will only be stored locally, and then Steam Cloud, if you go and play on a different computer, well, it doesn't have your free play progress. The number of times that that's relevant is minuscule. Like, how many people are actually needing Steam Cloud functionality on a regular basis? That's just a real niche sort of thing. If you're going to a friend's place and playing on their computer or something instead and logging on your account, it's probably just to play some multiplayer with them. You don't care about your personal progress on things like that. You know, campaign, sure, you might want to continue the campaign while you're there. That's fine. Keep that progress saved in the cloud. You only have 1 or 2 levels open at a time on campaign mode. Free play, a bit different. Steam Cloud is a new thing. We survived for 20 years without it. I mean, it's not that new. It's been around for a while now. But yes, we definitely survived for a while without it. It's useful if you do upgrades or if you have something go wrong with your computer. The fact that it backs up stuff, yeah, it's nice. But it has limitations, and those should be accepted and worked around as opposed to used as a barrier. You certainly shouldn't compromise on other usability just due to limitations on that one minor aspect. For a second I forgot that I'd just got myself a mug of water instead of coffee. I was like, this coffee tastes funny. Oh yeah, it's because it's just water. Oops. I couldn't be bothered waiting for the jug to boil again. Also, it's now afternoon and I'd prefer to avoid having too much caffeine in the afternoon. This map is taking a lot longer than I wanted it to. Let's just be real about that. So, yeah, streaming for 3.5 hours. We've still got 5% to go. We have progressed like a couple of percent from since I last took a break. I think I took my last break at like 94%, didn't I? So we've just scrubbed barnacles on the rest of the other wall and then started on the front. This is taking some time. I hope I can finish this in the next hour. If I don't, I'm going to have to come back to this tomorrow. I didn't even want to take this long on it today. I really underestimated how long this last 12% was going to take. I should know better than that by now. The number of these levels that I've gone into thinking, oh, this should be easy enough. This shouldn't take too long. 3 hours later. Love Steam Cloud when your SSD died, you had relief knowing. Exactly. I've had hard drives die before. It's nice knowing you don't have to start completely from scratch again. That said, it would also be perfectly fine for me if there was just a backup game data option in Steam, and it just backed up all of your currently installed game data, save games and everything, to a specified location, so you could just like stick in a USB or something, and or like even if it would just put it into a zip file or something and you just upload it to your Google Drive or your Dropbox or whatever it is that you use these days. So you could locally take care of it without relying on Steam Cloud. And for all I know, there probably is a way to do that. I haven't looked, because there are games that don't use Steam Cloud. So it's a case of, what do you do for those? Should actually look up about that, because there's quite a few games that I have installed, and not all of them have Steam Cloud support, I don't think. It would be nice to know what you have to do for those. Because yeah, you should just be able to say, backup game data, and then choose to file or to folder, and you either have it zipped up into a file to deal with yourself, or you specify a location that it's going to back everything up to. And then obviously have an import game data option as well. Have I tried the yellow nozzle? I have. it doesn't work on barnacles. What I was doing is a rinse cycle, so I do the yellow nozzle over the worst of it, so that way it exposes just the bits that it won't work on, so the barnacles in other words. So I've already been over this entire face with the yellow nozzle to at least clean off the most obvious dirt and just expose what needs to have the red. So that way I'm not going over the whole thing unnecessarily. But yeah, the yellow does not do a damn thing against these, unfortunately. That's the thing with the basic nozzle, is it has an ingrained of 0. So it just does not shift anything. Because yeah, you can bet I tried that out. I first encountered the barnacles on the fishing boat, and definitely was trying to get across with the yellow then. No luck. Dance Global, we have the service called Dropbox. Yeah, Dropbox is, yeah, I've heard of that. You can also just use, like there's a lot of backup services like that that will automatically back things up as you go. Dropbox, one of them. Microsoft's constantly wanting to push theirs. I don't care about backing up literally everything. Probably should, to be honest, but don't. I periodically make backups of like my photos and stuff. I have about 5 different copies of them. Basically any new external drive I'll just put a copy of my photos directory on, because it doesn't actually take up that much space compared to a lot of other stuff. Best thing you can do for things like photos and music and stuff is just get a high density SD card or something and just copy everything onto that. Just keep it separate. Oh, we're almost finished this side, which is nice. 3.5 hours stream time. God damn. We have like an hour maximum to finish this off now. Thankfully it's only Saturday. I've got tomorrow morning as well if I need it. It'd be really nice to have this monkey off my back though. Should be right back, I need to go get a life. No, this is fine. You don't need more of a life than this. Power washing is everything. Did I finish the other 3 sides? Yes, this is the final side to finish. Started with the one on the left, worked my way around. This is the front, so I just have to do the front. The walls are thankfully sectioned in 2 as well, because the entrance covers the middle. So this one should ding soon. And then I will go the other side and do that, and then work on the central area. This one won't take as long because I know from experience that generally the entrance areas don't have barnacles on them. You might have some of the ore that was present in other parts of the map. There we go. But yeah, there's no barnacles on the main entrance area, thankfully, so it's just this bit here that we've got to work on. But unfortunately, they're all the way up. So, yeah. As you can see on this, the yellow nozzle works fine. We could use the green, but it always leaves jagged edges, and you just have to go over it again anyway, so I just don't bother, and I just start with the yellow. But this bit will go faster. So we can clean off this wall nice and quickly. And then we'll do the rinse cycle on the pyramid wall, which will expose just the barnacle areas. And then we'll take half an hour to clean those barnacles. Have I beaten the game before? No. I specifically wanted to not finish the game until I had done this, because otherwise my resolve in finishing this challenge would be much weaker if I had already beaten the game. In early access I played through most of the game, and then once it hit full release I finished off most of the achievements for levels I had already done. I did the Ancient Monument, which was the hand in the desert, so I could clean that with the white nozzle, because that was an achievement. And then I unlocked the fishing boat and reset my progress to start again. And that is where this journey began, about 60 videos ago, in terms of YouTube playlist.